right, everybody, it's October 29th, 2024. I'm Dave Rubin. This is the Rubin Report. We are live streaming on Rumble, on YouTube, on Locals. Our numbers have been exploding. We thank you, and if you have not yet already subscribed on one or all of the channels, why not go ahead and do that? Post-game show, rubinreport.locals.com immediately after the show. As always, if you've got a question for me, if you'd like to correct me, nudge me, whatever you want to do, that's where we do all of that stuff. And it just hit me very starkly that the tagline we came up for this show a couple of years ago, crazy world, sane views, like we are now in the thick of crazy world and a couple people with sane views. I'd like to consider myself in that group, and I think you watching this probably consider yourself in that group. That means that they, the people calling us Nazis, are probably the crazy world people, and we need to spend the rest of the next week moving as many of them possible, because 1 week from today, of course, is the election. There is a lot of good evidence that this thing is going to go our way, and that maybe we will finally be rid of some of this crazy woke Marxist lunacy. However, as you know, I say it basically on every show, you got to give the devil his due. Let's not get overconfident and see what happens here. So we're gonna dive into a lot about the way the media is messaging all of this, because as you guys know, there is the truth, there is the actual reality, what happens like at Madison Square Garden on Sunday, which was an 8-hour America Love Fest. And then there's the way that the media frames everything, the narrative that gets sent out to people. And we know still that there are millions. We don't know the exact number, but there might be 60, 70 million Americans still who buy the BS from the mainstream media. And to me, that's really what this election's about. It's about Trump and Kamala, it's Democrats and Republicans, conservatives and liberals. No, it's about people who are peeking behind the thing and realizing that it's an old man there and not the mighty powerful Oz, and people who just want to keep that skirt closed, basically, that curtain closed. And that's really the tension that we're fighting right now. So let's just dive in. So as you know, I was at the MSG Trump event on Sunday, probably 15 speakers, 8 hours. There was not a word of hatred or anger or anything else. Yes, there were a couple off-color jokes about several groups right at the top by comedian Tony Hinchcliffe, not Hinchfeld, Hinchcliffe. But of course, the media is running that this was a Nazi rally. So Byron Donalds, who's a congressman down here, I've had him on the show a couple times, down here in Southwest Florida, other coast. He was one of the speakers, got a huge ovation, gave a really fantastic speech. And then he went over to CNBC yesterday to talk to Andrew Ross Sorkin, who is, of course, framing everything about the evil Nazi-like rhetoric of Donald Trump and all his fascist supporters. But Byron is doing this thing with the curtain. Go.
Question for you.
Sure, go ahead.
And this is what I think, to the extent that there are folks who, by the way, may agree with the policies of Trump,
yes,
but don't want to vote for Trump. And those, you know some of those people. The reason that they don't want to vote for Trump is because they see, either in his character or the people who seem to support him, seem to be engaged in that or willing to engage in that, right? Because what you don't see, you don't go to other rallies for Harris or see in a Harris rally that kind of vitriol. It just you see. Look,
you don't?
I don't think you do.
Kamala Harris spends half her time talking about her rival as Hitler, after he's been. There have been attempts on his life, not once, but twice. She's doing it right now. Every Democrat official at these rallies refers to him as Adolf Hitler. You got Hillary Clinton running around there hawking her book that nobody wants to buy, frankly. And she's talking about how this is akin to 1939. Are you out of your mind? You want to talk about rhetoric? Let's compare. But let me go back. We are talking about the comments of a comedian. Right. And everybody's going to forget it in 48 hours. The real joke in America is the terrible policy of Kamala Harris. Let's talk specifically about Puerto Ricans in America today. Puerto Ricans have had to live under the same inflation unleashed by Kamala Harris. And that's not a joke, but they got to live with it. Puerto Ricans today are living under the same terrible border policies that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris unleashed. That's a terrible joke on the American people. We should be focused on that.
That is a bang-up job, Byron Donalds, and that again gets to that shift that I'm talking about right now, where more and more people are seeing through the BS. Because online media exists, because they haven't censored us all into oblivion, even though they're trying. It gives guys like Byron Donalds now, I think, a little extra juice when he goes on those programs. And Sorkin, by the way, is not terrible. He really isn't terrible. In some respects, he's asking it's not great, but he's asking a relatively honest question, meaning people agree with Trump on policy, but they're worried about rhetoric. Then, of course, he goes a little too far because he's talking about the vitriol at the freaking rally. And again, I was there for all 8 hours of it, and there was no vitriol. Just to reiterate one more time, and then I won't bother repeating it. Hinchcliffe went up as people were still coming in. He was the opening act. He is a comic who works blue. He's an insult comic. This is what he does. He made jokes about several other groups too, including Jews, by the way, and nobody cares about that, and they shouldn't care about that, right? Don Rickles, there's a video, maybe we'll show you some of this tomorrow. There's a video going viral right now of Don Rickles at Ronald Reagan's, I think his re-election in '84. At the party. And Don Rickles is going after everybody. That makes us all American. Anyway, Sorkin's question, okay, maybe it's fine, maybe it isn't. But Byron's response is great because nobody will remember that. But think about it. They're telling you it was a Nazi rally, and the thing that they have to hang their hat on about the Nazi rally is they can't find any lines that Donald Trump said that Nazis would like. Hulk Hogan made fun of Nazis there, as did many other speakers. There were Israeli flags there. There were many people in yarmulkes. There were Muslims there, et cetera, et cetera. So it was the furthest possible thing from a Nazi rally. It was the furthest possible thing from a vitriolic rally. But all they've got is, oh my God, this guy made one joke and they have to go crazy with it. So anyway, great job right there. But the reason I wanted to start with that clip, because I thought it would be a nice way to throw to this. You may remember this. This is from about a year ago when Elon Musk was talking to Andrew Ross Sorkin at an event. And this was as Elon has been going through his wake up that would then sort of culminate in him being at Madison Square Garden at a Trump rally. And I think this sort of gets to the heart of the confusion around the woke and how they trick everybody in the media.
How do you feel about that? No,
how do I feel about that?
Yeah, no, I'm asking you personally how you feel about that, because we're talking about power and influence, and
I'm saying what I care about is the reality of goodness, not the perception of it. And what I see all over the place is people who care about looking good while doing evil. F them. Okay?
Yeah, and that's it. And I have to tell you that not only was that rally a joy fest, but when Elon got up there, he even referenced like how crazy it is that he's there and how much joy there was there. And there was no one that was anti-immigrant. They're anti-illegal immigrant, and there was nobody racist. And okay, you get all of that. But what the left is doing at the other side, like what's happening on the other side of this? It's what's Kamala's campaign about. It's a brat summer, and it's all about joy and mamala. But none of it's actually good. None of the policies, whether letting in, what do we think, 10 to 15 million illegals, whether it's tanking the dollar, whether it's the disastrous policy in the Middle East or in Ukraine, none of it's good for the American people, but they can smile when they do it, which is why I think it was Ronald Reagan said when socialism comes to America, it'll come in the name of liberalism because they'll be smiling about it the whole time, and they take advantage of people's feelings. Gad Saad, my friend Gad Saad, who's been on the show a million times, I mean, he talks about this endlessly. It's suicidal empathy. You have such empathy and such a desire for joy and goodness that you will kill yourself at the same time. Now, interestingly, I want to show you this clip. It's about 2 minutes long. Jon Stewart, who should have become a great bulwark on the left against the woke insanity, but decided to go with it. So he's been wrong on all the major issues, the trans stuff, the race stuff, Trump derangement syndrome, all of the stuff. He's still, I'm going to give him credit here, he still is a comic. And comics have largely come out to defend Hinchcliffe, whether you like the joke or not, right? And that's the purpose of a comic. A comic occasionally is going to get close to the line and sometimes trip over it, right? That's just how it is. But Jon Stewart, who has absolute Trump derangement syndrome, he's just fueled the woke. He should have been more along the lines of a Bill Maher as a bulwark against it, but he became part of it. But here he is even defending Hinchcliffe and pushing against the media reaction to what happened on Sunday.
Raise the alarms.
The opening act, grabbing headlines for all the wrong reasons. A comedian who offered unfunny, racist, cringeworthy jokes.
Basically calling Puerto Ricans trash.
The most repulsive racial jokes about Latinos.
Disgusting and hateful.
So incredibly crude.
Frankly, just too X-rated to play here.
Extremely vile so-called jokes.
Extremely vile so-called jokes. She name-checked my comedy album from the 90s. Did I really? I don't know who's AI, me or that guy. Now, obviously, in retrospect, having a roast comedian come to a political rally a week before Election Day and roasting a key voting demographic, probably not the best decision by the campaign politically. But to be fair, the guy's really just doing what he does. I mean, here he is at the Tom Brady roast a few months ago.
The great Jeff Ross, ladies and gentlemen. Jeff is so Jewish, he only watches football for the coin toss. Gronk, you look like the Nazi that kept burning himself on the ovens. Kevin is so small that when his ancestors picked cotton, they called it deadlifting.
Yes, yes, of course. Terrible, boo, yes. There's something wrong with me. I find that guy very funny. So, I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, bringing him to a rally and have him not do roast jokes, that'd be like bringing Beyonce to a rally and not have... Oh.
All right, so John, look, I've been critical of you, even though I was your intern at The Daily Show in 1999, but I will give you credit there. You're a comic defending comics. You know, it's funny, on the insult comic thing in general, or the roast thing, like, to me, it's all just kind of low-hanging fruit. Like, they all sit there with their fake laughs, and it's whatever. You want to watch real great insult humor, you want to watch real roasts, go on YouTube and watch the old school roasts where they used to roast Ronald Reagan, and it would be Sinatra up there and Dean Martin, and it was a bunch of old school celebrities who were drinking, who really were friends, where now they put these people just, it's all selected by their PR agents. You make fun of him and you'll get a little more famous and everything else, but that's a bit of a sidebar. Of course, another comedian, quote unquote comedian, who's involved in this, and maybe who could have been a bulwark against it, but decided to go all in on the woke stuff, is Jimmy Kimmel. He's been, I would say, as bad as Jon Stewart's been, Jimmy Kimmel has been far worse. Here he is explaining that you should have Trump derangement syndrome.
I'm an optimistic person. I'm not hysterical. I laugh when people say, oh, you've got Trump derangement syndrome. Yeah. I think if you're a reasonable person, you should have Trump derangement syndrome. Right. And by the way, I think he has derangement syndrome about us, too. The fact of the matter is, this is a dangerous person. This is a stupid person. And that's a bad combination.
Yeah, I mean, dude, it's, as always, just get the mirror, look at yourself. There's no reason to have Trump derangement syndrome. Look at the first 2 years of his presidency when the border was clean, the economy was great, several peace deals in the Middle East, no Russia and Ukraine, et cetera, et cetera. You live in service to the machine, and you should, because it gave you a job that pays you $20 million a year to tell your hack jokes. We'll have more on the mainstream media in just a moment, but let me talk to you about Preserve Gold.
We're living in unpredictable times with digital currencies on the rise, a whopping $35 trillion in national debt, and inflation still at a 40-year high. For these reasons and more, the Big Short traders, known for their successful bet against the housing market back in 2008, are warning that Americans don't have enough gold in their portfolios. Their advice comes amid massive central bank gold buying taking place globally and spiraling $35 trillion national debt lingering across the U.S. That's why you should strongly consider physical gold and silver to help protect your retirement accounts like IRAs and 401ks. Preserve Gold is giving away a no-cost, no-obligation free wealth protection guide that contains 25-plus pages of detailed information and insights. Learn how you can put physical gold and silver into an IRA or 401k and even purchase precious metals for delivery directly to your home. All you need to do is text the word DAVE to 50505. Preserve Gold has hundreds of 5-star reviews and millions of dollars in trusted transactions with satisfied clients. As an exclusive offer to my viewers, in addition to their free guide, you can also get up to $15,000 in free gold and silver with a qualified purchase. Just text DAVE to 50505 to receive this exclusive offer.
All right, so let's continue it for a bit with this war on reality, because that's really what's going on here. There is the reality of Trump and Trump's message and the MSG rally and everything else. And then there is the way that the media and the machine change the narrative So good people focus on one joke and can then spawn that off into a million Nazi conspiracies. Mika Brzezinski, who is Joe Scarborough's co-host and wife, which is a thought so disgusting, I don't even know how to describe it. She went on The View because she's a crazy lady, and crazy ladies like sitting at tables with other crazy ladies being crazy together. It's a thing. That basically explains the Democrat Party. Mika went on The View and listened to how she described Donald Trump and the MSG rally.
I think it was everything that you need to know about Donald Trump in one weird white nationalist Nazi-type rally. And of course, there's historic parallels to where and when this happened. But even more so, it also points out everything that we know, but it's important to act on right now because this is the moment and we won't have it again. Nobody gets a pass trashing America. Yeah. Puerto Rican Americans, nobody gets a pass degrading people. Nobody gets a pass degrading legal migrants and terrorizing people. Nobody gets a pass threatening his enemies with using the military against them. Nobody gets a pass on inciting an insurrection. Nobody gets a pass on saying he fancies Hitler and wants to have generals like his. Nobody gets a pass on insulting veterans and saying those who died for our country are suckers and losers, except for convicted felon Donald Trump. And guys, here's the warning. You all have set it up. But let me take it a step further, please, if I may. This is called normalization. Yes. This is the descent into fascism, if we so choose.
Right. There's so much there that I don't want to say what I really am thinking about her. You know what I mean? I don't want to get demonetized. You guys probably want lunch today, so I'm just going to write down something here, and we will mail this to someone on Locals. I'm not going to actually say what I'm thinking, but I do want to continue for a second because the thing is that these people are not good people, and it's not just Mika who goes on there and says these crazy, completely crazy things. There were black people there, and there were Latinos there, and everybody else. And it's vile, and it's disgusting, and she's a horrible human being. And you, lady, have normalized evil and lying, especially to the extent with which you do it, and the ease with which you do it is evil. So you're the one doing normalization here. But it's not just you, of course. Here's Whoopi. This is even crazier. It's not, oh, he's a white supremacist, it's normalizing white nationalism, blah, blah, blah. Here's Whoopi, that somehow Donald Trump is going to break up interracial marriages.
All of you. Talking about you, it's us. He's not going to, say, oh, you're with a white guy, I'm going to keep you from being deported. No, he's going to deport you and put the white guy with someone else. The man is out there.
Oh, he's going to deport you and put the white, so he's going to do forced white marriages? It's not just that he's going to break up the interracial marriages, he's going to do forced white marriages. Now, it's funny, maybe I'm being a little dismissive of this. I would imagine that his running mate, J.D. Vance, must have a white wife, because otherwise that would be, lordy, there's Usha Vance. She's Indian, doesn't appear to be very white. But of course, Whoopi herself has nothing to worry about, because as you guys know, Whoopi was once married to noted black actor Ted Danson. We have a picture. Oh, yes, there's Ted Danson, and look at Whoopi's smiling face. Ted Danson in blackface. Ted Danson, who of course is a far left wackadoo. And it's a damn shame. I loved him in Cheers. Even that show Becker wasn't terrible. He was great in Curb. But there's Ted Danson in blackface. What you gonna do? As Hulk Hogan would say, what you gonna do? More from these crazy bananas lunatics. AOC. Should I write down what I think of AOC with using her initials? No, I was given a no. Enough, Dave. Enough. Do a show. Here she is on Trump's MSG rally.
This was a hate rally. This was not just a presidential rally. This was also not just a campaign rally. I think it's very important for people to understand that these are mini January 6 rallies. These are mini Stop the Steal rallies. These are rallies to prime an electorate into rejecting the results of an election if it doesn't go the way that they want.
Phoenix just said that she looks pregnant. I don't know if that was that she's put on a little weight, or are you saying she has the glow? She would truly have Rosemary's Baby. Like, she might have the devil being, sauced up inside of her right now. It's just crazy. It's just crazy, guys. And I just want to be very, very clear about something. You really, I sent out a long tweet on it this morning. Maybe we'll read it for you tomorrow. But you really must understand, they are put on these shows to lie. The hosts have the job to lie, and they put these people on shows. Note they didn't show any of the speeches. Isn't it odd? You would have an 8-hour. It was literally from 1 p.m. I walked out of there at about 9:15 p.m. You think Dr. Phil is a white supremacist? Hulk Hogan is a white supremacist. Vivek is a white supremacist. Byron Donalds is a white supremacist. You people are evil propagandists. And hopefully 1 week from today, Donald Trump wins by such a landslide that you will all be relegated to the dustbin of history. That would be good. Speaking of dustbin of history, there's an old man who's still pretending to be president, even though they cooed him. His name's Joe Biden, and here he is on the MSG rally.
Mr. President, can you come here and comment on former President Trump's rally yesterday? He was saying a bunch of stuff about immigrants.
It's simply embarrassing. It's beneath any president, but that's what we're getting used to. That's why this election is so important. Most of the presidential scholars I've spoken to talk about the single most consequential thing about a president's character. Character. And he puts that in question every time he opens his mouth.
What an unbelievably farcical show we're in. It's not even a good show. That's the problem. If this was all a good show, then I think it would be a lot easier for us to go on with our day. But it's not even a good show. The reporter doesn't even believe what she's saying. Mr. President, did you see what Donald Trump said about, and she's like afraid to say immigrants. He didn't say anything about legal immigrants. Actually, they talked about MS-13. They talked about the Venezuelan gangs and the rapists and the murderers. I know you guys are kind of for that stuff. And then Mr. President, then he walks over, can't really move his face anymore, doesn't really know what he's saying. You're all horrible, horrible people, and I hope you all burn in hell. Let's talk about Rumble Premium for a second, then more on the other side. When Rumble first started in 2013, they built the platform for the small creator. They didn't censor or have biases. They were fair and treated all creators equally. No one thought platforms would censor political conversation or censor opinions around COVID, but they did. Facebook admitted they fell to pressure from the Biden and Harris administration. Of course, Rumble did not. They held the line. They're attacked daily for giving us a voice to talk to you. They're attacked in corporate media. They're attacked by governments like France. They're attacked by brand advertisers who refuse to work with them. Corporate America is fighting to remove free speech while Rumble is fighting to keep it. Rumble won't survive with brand advertisers alone. They don't get much of it. So watching our show is the number one way we can ask for support from you. But if you really believe in this fight and you have the means, one major way you can help Rumble survive is by joining Rumble Premium. Join the community that believes in the First Amendment and believes in our human right to free speech. Rumble is offering $10 off with promo code Rubin when you purchase an annual subscription. Go to rumble.com/premium/Rubin and use code Rubin. Like I said, if you have the means and believe in the cause, now is the time to join Rumble Premium. If you don't have the means, we're just happy if you watch us right here on Rumble. All right, so one thing that's particularly interesting right now, beyond the, oh, you're a Nazi, you're Hitler, you're fascist stuff, is that Kamala's shifting a little bit in some of the messaging as we get to this last week. And as I keep saying, if you think it's been bananas, we are in for the most banana-filled week ever. This is it, 7 days of bananas. That's where we're at this point. This would be a good week for monkeypox to come out because bananas, did that even really make sense? I'm not sure. Anyway, Kamala Harris, as they've sort of shot their load on the Hitler thing, Kamala is now, listen to the craziness of this. Donald Trump, who has built this wide coalition, how did he do it? He built a wide coalition defending free speech, right? He built a wide coalition now that people have realized, even good liberals have realized that the Second Amendment is good because the government's not so great. That's what he's done here to wake up so many people amongst a bunch of other things. Here's Kamala Harris talking about how Trump is going to terminate the First Amendment for black people and also terminate the Second Amendment for black people. What?
Blacks for Trump. Mm-hmm. They feel that Trump is better for the black community. Can you explain Donald Trump's history with blacks? Where did this come that all of a sudden, it's been like this because a lot of people used to say, I'm Donald Trump of the ghetto because he was, for a lot of blacks, not all, but for some blacks, he was Madam VP, whether we want to admit it or not, he's revered by some blacks.
But here's the thing. The question for everybody, should he be president of the United States?
Okay.
Right? That's the question. Should he have the ability to sit behind the seal of the President of the United States when he says he wants to terminate the Constitution of the United States? You know what that would mean? In the Constitution of the United States is your Fourth Amendment right against unreasonable search and seizure, your Fifth Amendment right, your Sixth Amendment right to an attorney.
Well, a lot of rights going to be gone. The First Amendment.
But the First Amendment, the Second Amendment.
Yes.
Look, I'm in favor of the Second Amendment. I don't believe we should be taking anybody's guns away.
Yes, you do. And you've talked about buybacks and everything else. And please do not pretend that your party is suddenly pro-Second Amendment. Of course you guys are not. And that's why you never want to talk about mental health or prescription drugs or the cultural problems that lead to the shootings. But the idea, first off, there's so much, because it's like you're a liar that he wants to destroy the Constitution. He's actually trying to govern in line with the Constitution. You guys are the ones that want to pack the courts. You guys are the ones that actually want to use the deep state and the agencies to govern and not allow the people to have a voice. You guys, it was your fucking administration that worked with big tech to silence people during COVID. So everything that she says there, do you think Donald Trump deserves the right to sit behind that desk? He damn well does, because he did a good job of it when he did it once. You've never sat there, and I pray to the Lord that you never sit there, and nobody voted for you in a primary. Donald Trump won 2 primaries by blowouts. Awful, absolutely awful. Here's more, as long as we're talking about the black community, which for some reason lefties think they all must think the same thing. I, for one, think that black people are allowed to think whatever they want, and that's just fine. Here's Van Jones saying that Trump's Agenda 47 will lock up black men. So after Whoopi, and we're going to make sure interracial marriage doesn't happen, then we're going to have forced white marriage, then apparently we're locking up all the black men.
But here's the thing that nobody's talking about. And then Donald Trump got worse. Everybody talks about this Project 2025. He says that that's not his project. You know what? Donald Trump never lies. So I believe him. I believe him. I believe him. I believe him. So, but what he's actually on record for is something called Agenda 47. That's his agenda that he signed off to. It's on his website. What does it say about these issues? Point number 2. President Trump will require local law enforcement agencies.
This is Project 2025?
No, this is Agenda 47. This is literally what Donald Trump has signed on to.
Oh, I see.
So, because he never lies. He says he's not for that other thing. So this is what's on his website. He says he's going to have require local law enforcement to do stop and frisk, which is basically 80% goes against black people. He says he's going to instruct the DOJ to dismantle every street gang. In other words, the feds are going to be in your neighborhood trying to figure out which one of your kids should go to federal prison. He says he's going to indemnify all cops, so you can't sue cops. Basically, black men are about to get conned, those who are going to do this vote. The best con artist in the world is going to tell black men, I'm going to lift you up, and in fact, he's going to lock you up. He's going to lock you up for the stuff that Kamala Harris is trying to decriminalize. He's going to actually recriminalize.
Van, why do you think that all black men are in street gangs? They don't do these things to lawful people. Now, that doesn't mean that there can't be a bad cop who might do a stop and frisk unfairly or unjustly, and that should be dealt with. And police departments and agencies have ways to deal with those things. Whether they do it properly is a separate issue. There's no perfect system. But getting rid of street gangs, that would be good. What Donald Trump's talking about there is that in cities, like in the city you guys shot that very video right there, Los Angeles, the mayor of LA is no longer doing proper policing. You can trespass and jump over people's fences and set up a tent and they won't do anything. You can smoke crack outside of City Hall. All of them. Remember when we did that on our last visit there? It was pretty great. So, no, he is not coming after. Donald Trump literally had lowest all-time black unemployment. Oh, and Connor, do we have a picture maybe of Van Jones, who was working on policy as it relates to the black community. Oh my God, where did we get that? Did we Photoshop him in there with those other black people smiling at the orange man? Or was that yeah, he was doing that at that time. And of course, his grift is almost up. Speaking of grift, let's go back to the televised mental institution known as MSNBC, where it's not just that Whoopi's telling you that they're going to break up the interracial marriages and force white marriages, and then we're going to take the black people's guns, according to Kamala, and da-da-da-da-da. Here's Nicole Wallace saying that every woman in America is about to die.
And everybody, don't sleep on the men. They heard from Michelle Obama this weekend. It's 5 o'clock in New York in 2016. She told us to go high when they go low. In 2020, she effectively appealed to our better angels. And just a few months ago, she told the pro-democracy Americans among us to, quote, do something. Now, with just over 1 week until Election Day, former First Lady Michelle Obama isn't messing around anymore. Because with women's reproductive health care and freedoms hanging in the balance next Tuesday, the stakes literally are life and death for every woman in America. It's not hyperbole. It's not an exaggeration. It's what happens next week.
You're right. It is life or death because abortion is death. I know that's not what you meant, lady, but yeah, reproductive health care. It's so ironic. And again, I say this is somebody, as you know, I'm begrudgingly pro-choice. We can pick what that means. To me, around 12 weeks would be basically pushing it, but you leave it to the states. The states can decide. But it's life or death for women to make their own health care decisions. Brought to you by the same people who injected you with some shit that they didn't know what it was just a couple years ago. Here's video of Michelle Obama, also fear-mongering about women.
But to anyone out there thinking about sitting out this election or voting for Donald Trump or a third-party candidate in protest because you're fed up, let me warn you, your rage does not exist in a vacuum. If we don't get this election right, your wife, your daughter, your mother, we as women will become collateral damage to your rage. So, are you as men prepared to look into the eyes of the women and children you love and tell them that you supported this assault on our safety?
What assault on your safety? The assault on the safety of women might be that MS-13 is now in the United States, that Venezuelan gangs are running rampant, that there are illegals raping women and taking over homes, that crime is through the roof in Democrat-run cities. They don't care about all of that. They really fucking love abortion. We've got to kill as many babies as possible. Ugh, horrible, horrible. I don't like that, dude. Let's talk about the Contagion Kit, and then we'll continue with more as it relates to Harris and her interesting campaign. Good title for a movie.
The world's on edge. Election tensions, economic instability, supply shortages, and new health threats. Waiting for the medical industrial complex to protect you during a crisis is a huge mistake. That's why I want to tell you guys about the wellness company's Contagion Emergency Kit. It's a lifesaver put together by real experts like Dr. Peter McCullough. Inside, you've got medications like ivermectin, HCQ, budesonide, and even a nebulizer. These are critical medications to treat respiratory illnesses and so much more, especially heading into flu season. Think about it. We've witnessed drug shortages, pharmacies turning people away, and prescriptions being questioned. Do you really want to risk being told no when you need life-saving meds? This kit lets you bypass the red tape. No waiting, no begging. You're in control. With just a few clicks, the kit is delivered right to your door. I have my kit, and now you can get yours by heading on over to twc.health/Rubin and use code Rubin to save $45. Don't wait until it's too late. Act now, take control, and ensure you're protected against whatever comes next. That's twc.health/Rubin and use code Rubin to save $45 plus free shipping right now.
All right, so we're in the stretch run here. We know that Donald Trump is doing 1 million appearances, whether it's with Joe Rogan or MSG, the world's biggest podcast, the world's most famous arena, et cetera, et cetera. And Kamala's making the rounds too, so she's doing her thing. They talk about Trump having hate rallies with angry people. Here's Kamala kind of getting booed off stage, basically.
We are fighting for America's future. And we understand the opportunity we have before us to turn the page on the fear
I don't even know what that guy was yelling, but you'd think that these are the open, empathetic people. Let the man yell whatever he wants and respond to it. Kamala, why are you all booing him? Are you so mean and intolerant of other people's opinions? All right, that one's a little bit of a throwaway. This one's actually funny. Here is Kamala telling the crowd that they should chant their own name, which gets everybody a little confused.
Do that. Because it's about all of us. It's about all of us. And listen, I have fought my whole career to put the people.
Shout your own name. This woman is not well. They even know she's an idiot. It really has gotten to the point. I'm sorry, I get it that some people just have Trump derangement syndrome, but all the people that would be chanting this woman's name, you didn't vote for her. Months ago, you were supporting a man with dementia. You're believing a bunch of people who lie to you about everything. Like, you're basically an idiot. If I meet a Harris supporter at this point, you're basically an idiot. I'm sorry. Like that's just, we've whittled it down to its raw essence. And Kamala Harris supporters are idiots. She does like beer, though. Here she is having a beer with a woman who has more Botox than Joy Behar.
Aren't you kind of more of a wine person? What are you having, Madam Vice President?
I am having what she's having.
It's an Oberon, and it's made right here in Kalamazoo, which many are calling Kamalazoo.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Cheers. Okay, cheers.
Great rally. Good. And I mean, it's, and you know what I think of first time voter. And yeah.
We just told all the family secrets.
Yeah, she says the word shit. What a authentic woman. She's so inauthentic, so fake. What kind of beer are you having? I'm having what she's having. Like, you can't, like, there's nothing real about that woman. Her sip was fake. Did you see it barely touched her lips? And then they sit there, and Whitmer, who's so horrible, and also Kamala Zoo sounded kind of racist. We're all finding racism everywhere that it is, except where it actually is. That sounded kind of racist to me. But they're busting out the clown car of sort of irrelevant people, you know, to get her. They get all the celebrities who have had sex with children, and then they busted out Doc Rivers. Doc Rivers, I used to like Doc Rivers. I remember him as a player in the 80s. Obviously been a coach in the NBA for the last 15 or so years. Celtics, Clippers, maybe somebody else. Here he is with Doug Emhoff, because these are dudes who are playing basketball and stuff, and they like Kamala because of the dribbling and things of that nature.
All right, guys, huddle up. Let's go, let's go. Yes, this is the final stretch of the election. We have 30 seconds for one last play. All right, Coach. Doug, you're going to travel across all these swing states, right? And you're going to make sure that folks know that Kamala is going to take care of all of them, just like she takes care of her family.
Yeah.
Tony, you have to make sure everyone knows that Kamala is going to support their families. All right, Wes, you're going to make sure everyone knows that Kamala is an effective government partner.
You got it, Coach.
And all of you must head to iwillvote.com to make your plan to vote. To vote!
For Kamala.
Hands in. Kamala on 3. 1, 2, 3. Kamala!
Now, I don't know if this is true, but I was told that immediately after shooting that promo right there, that there was an intern who was serving them coffee, and Doug Emhoff's coffee was a little cold, and he slapped her across the face. Uh-oh, Media Matters, you're coming after me for misinformation? Who is listening to Doc Rivers? You know, interestingly about Doc Rivers, I saw somebody posted that video, and then there were a bunch of people responding to it. Doc Rivers, if you look at the 10 biggest leads that teams have ever blown in the NBA playoffs, he coached like 6 of those teams, meaning his teams had like 25, 30-point leads in games in the playoffs and blew the lead. So hopefully that's a little bellwether for where we're heading here. But let's shift a little bit. We're showing a lot of just the stupidity and the hypocrisy, of course, and all of that, and that's easy stuff. But you guys know what I love. What I love are stories about people who are not political, who are doing other things, and then they start waking up. They realize that Trump is not the devil, he's not Hitler. They realize that there is a side that cares about America and that is actually joyous for the right reasons and that believes in a positive future that isn't dictated by the government and everything else. And one of those guys, we played a couple videos of him recently, and I chatted with him at the Rescue the Republic rally in DC not too long ago, is Zachary Levi, who many of you know as Shazam from the DC movies. He talked with Megyn Kelly about why not only did he wake up and he's out there with Tulsi and RFK doing events, but he woke up and he got to the end of the road, why he's voting for Trump.
I'm not voting for Donald Trump. I'm voting for Donald Trump and Bobby Kennedy and Tulsi Gabbard and Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk and JD Vance and everyone else that they're going to bring in this team, this Avengers, this Voltron, whatever you want to call it. And they're going to get in there and actually do what Donald Trump said he was going to do the first time, which is drain the swamp. And he has admitted that he couldn't do it and he didn't do it because he didn't know what he was doing. He didn't even think he was going to win the first time. And he had no time for his transition team. And then it was loaded with a bunch of sycophants and horrible people that were the swamp monsters that Bobby Kennedy has very accurately pointed out. And so now they're privately funding. I love this, that Trump is privately funding his own transition team, not waiting for the government. So they are ready to go and they are not compromised. That is the government that I want. That is something. Bobby is 100%. He and Tulsi are going to be let loose to be the bulldogs that we need to hold people to account. And by the way, and they will do it fairly. They will do it civilly. They will do it in love. I've sat with both of them. They are incredibly wonderful human people.
You know, I just have to add a little color, and I'm not patting myself on the back by saying this, but after the Restore the Republic rally, I had dinner with him and I had with Tulsi there, and we chatted about all of this and what she could do if she gets in the government and fight for the right things alongside Bobby and everything else. And I had dinner with Tulsi right after the MSG thing the other night, and she's ready to do this, and these are good people. And on top of it, and we're so used to not seeing good people in government that we're a little unsure. It's like, could Donald Trump actually be the good guy? RFK? What? There's going to be good people actually doing things for the right reasons. We wouldn't even know what to do. But what he laid out there, that there would be a team, whatever you want to call it, the Avengers, Voltron, whatever that thing is. I like the Voltron reference. It probably is going over most people's head. But like that you could take like small groups of robotic lions and put them together into a giant robot with a big sword. That would be pretty cool. And that's what they could do, right? And those people, by the way, Tulsi and RFK and Elon have very similar political trajectories as me, as I'm sure many of you, clearly as Zach. And another guy, I think we've played 1 or 2 videos of him over the years, who has realized what's going on here with this dream team type thing, that it wouldn't just be Trump having to drain the swamp without all of the knowledge. He would then have an all-star team of government efficiency, Elon, someone going into the CDC and NIH as RFK, someone dealing with the Department of Defense, Tulsi, et cetera, maybe a chief of staff or a PR guy, Vivek. Another guy who's come around on some of this stuff, I think you've heard of him before, Jordan Peterson.
Trump, Musk, Kennedy, Gabbard, Ramaswamy, Vance, that's a dream team by the standards of anyone looking for a wild and compelling show. God only knows what, with that same God's help, they could accomplish. Every single one of those people is remarkable in their own right. Everyone a person whom it has been a privilege to watch, hear, and to some degree get to know. I would vote for Trump as president if I could vote, and I can't because I'm Canadian, and forgive me for that.
I love that. Forgive me for that. We do forgive you, Jordan. We should just make him a citizen. Is there a way? Can someone send a letter to somebody like, the guy should be a citizen of the United States of America, and he definitely needs to get out of Canada. But that aside for a second, that's the point, guys. We are so used to clowns, ridiculous people who for all the wrong reasons have the jobs. Say Pete Buttigieg being transportation secretary because he's gay. saying Dick Levine being Assistant Secretary of Health because he doesn't have a dick, et cetera, et cetera. Corinne Jean-Pierre, all these people who are deeply unqualified to do any of these things, running a clown car of insanity, and then here it is. And it's weird. I get it. It's strange that an orange man with crazy hair who's a billionaire somehow assembled this team, but here we are. This is the moment, and we better freaking grab it, because I don't know how it materializes again if he loses. I just do not. I just simply do not. But I will tell you this, there are major signals in the system 7 days away from this thing that Trump is going to win. So check this out. This is seriously interesting. This is from Colin Rugg. New, Jeff Bezos. You guys know Jeff Bezos. I believe he's even richer than Elon, richest man in the world, who owns Amazon. Jeff Bezos rips the Band-Aid off, blasts his own newspaper's credibility and victim mentality. The statement comes after Bezos refused to allow the Washington Post to make a presidential endorsement. Most people believe the media is biased. Anyone who doesn't see this is paying scant attention to reality, and those who fight reality lose. Reality is an undefeated champion. It would be easy to blame others for our long and continuing fall in credibility and therefore decline in impact. He's talking about the Washington Post, of course. But a victim mentality will not help. Complaining is not a strategy. We must work harder to control what we can control to increase our credibility. Presidential endorsements do nothing to tip the scales of an election. No undecided voter in Pennsylvania are going to say, I'm going with newspaper A's endorsement. None. What presidential endorsements actually do is create a perception of bias, a perception of non-independence. Ending them is a principled decision, and it's the right one. Lack of credibility isn't unique to the Post. Our brethren newspapers have the same issue, and it's a problem not only for media, but also for the nation. Many people are turning to off-the-cuff podcasts, inaccurate social media posts, and other unverified news sources which can quickly spread misinformation and deepen divisions. While I do not and will not push my personal interest, I will also not allow this paper to stay on autopilot and fade into irrelevance, overtaken by unresearched podcasts and social media barbs, not without a fight. It's too important, the stakes are too high. Now more than ever, the world needs a credible, trusted, independent voice, and where better for that voice to originate than the capital city of the most important country in the world. To win this fight, we have to exercise new muscles. Some changes will be a return to the past, and some will be new inventions. Criticism will be part and parcel of anything new, of course. This is the way of the world. None of this will be easy, but it will be worth it. I am so grateful to be part of this endeavor. Many of the finest journalists you'll find anywhere work at the Washington Post, and they work painstakingly every day to get to the truth. They deserve to be believed. Let me make a point here, guys. Most of that is pure bullshit, right? What he realizes is that we and you watching this, it's not just me sitting here, that we are overtaking them. And there's a reason we're overtaking them. Yes, this show may be funny and everything else, and Rogan may be good and all that stuff, but it's because you guys have been so derelict in your duty. You are not journalists, you are quote unquote journalists. But what's happening, the reason that what he wrote there is important, whether you agree with it or not, is the reason that suddenly a growing list of newspapers are not endorsing is because they don't want to endorse Trump, but they really don't want to endorse Kamala because they think she's going to lose. Right? That's what's really going on here. If they thought Kamala was going to win, they would be endorsing because they are in the business of keeping the powerful in power. It's not much more complicated than that. Check this out from Joe Concha. He's a great media reporter. The list keeps growing regarding major newspapers not endorsing Kamala Harris that traditionally have supported Democratic candidates in the past. Washington Post, LA Times, USA Today, and now Tampa Bay Times. So these newspapers, which are supposed to be in the business of unbiased journalism, and for some reason every 4 years decide that they should endorse a candidate, which kind of shows you the thing behind the curtain. They're not doing it now, but it's not because they suddenly are like, oh, we're supposed to be impartial. It's because they know that the guy that they don't want to win is about to win, and they don't want to piss everybody off all along the way. Okay, so how do we end this show? Because as I said, it's going to keep getting crazier. The banana tree is going to be ruffled. All of those wacky things are going to keep happening. And how do you remain hopeful amidst the craziness? Well, there's a lot of reason to remain hopeful right now. Check this out from Elon Musk. Early votes in Pennsylvania now show Republicans doing 435K better than at the same date in 2020. Biden's margin of victory was only 80K in 2020, trending towards a crushing victory. Registration by party is similar between Democrats and Republicans, and early votes in 2024 for Republicans are almost double compared to 2020. So these are real numbers. These are people who have voted already. So this isn't speculation. This isn't, going like this in the wind. This is actual real votes. And one more that'll give you some hope here from Elon. Arizona, Nevada, and North Carolina all showing a massive shift towards Republicans versus 2020. And you can see some of the numbers right there. But basically, there's been a massive, massive move. Democrats way down in Arizona and Republicans way up. So look, guys, good things are happening. It's going to get crazy. We have to keep exposing the nonsense. Who knows? Like the kitchen sink, like it's going to be thrown out this week. We don't know what else they can do. Could they suddenly make the Ukraine war hot so that people are like, oh my God, the war's gone hot. We're about to go into World War III. We can't vote for Trump now. Can they bust out the next Hitler on steroids story or whatever? And as I always say, I'm not worried about the things I can think of. I'm worried about the shit I can't think of. So we shall see. And that's all I've got to say about that. Guys, we got a post-game show coming up in moments, rubinreport.locals.com, and we will be back tomorrow and the day after and the day after, and keep doing it, and there'll be an election, and we'll keep doing it after that, et cetera, et cetera. Goodbye.